Why does the US government keep borrowing trillions without going broke? If you or I owed the kind of debt that keeps growing every single second, never stopping, the bank would seize our house, our car, everything we own. We'd be called bankrupt and become a footnote in someone's story. But there's one country whose debt grows every single second. While you've been listening to this sentence, it has added roughly $30,000 in new debt. Total debt? Over $34 trillion. And next year? Even more. And yet this country never goes bankrupt, its currency never crashes, and no one ever stops lending to it. This country is the United States of America. The question isn't why America borrows so much. The question is, why doesn't this system break? Why? This question matters right now. This isn't some abstract economics lecture. This is directly tied to your money, whether you live in America or not. The US dollar is the world's reserve currency. When the US manages its debt, or fails to, oil prices shift, emerging market currencies shake, and the investment app on your phone moves with them. Over the last 2 decades, this debt has grown exponentially. In the year 2000, it was around $5 trillion. Today, more than 7 times that. And every time some expert screams that this system is going to collapse, it doesn't. So either the experts are wrong, or we've never truly understood the system to begin with. Today, we're going to explore both possibilities. How the system actually works. Let's start with the basics, but not the textbook kind. When the US government runs short on money, which is almost always, it has 2 choices: raise taxes or borrow money. Raising taxes is politically painful, so the government takes the other route. It sells Treasury bonds. A Treasury bond is essentially an IOU. The government says, give me $100 and I'll pay you back $100 plus interest later. Who buys these bonds? Banks, pension funds, foreign governments like China and Japan, and American citizens themselves. So far, this sounds normal. Every country does this. But the real twist starts here. When old bonds come due, meaning the money has to be paid back, the US government raises that money by selling new bonds. In other words, old debt is paid off using new debt. This sounds like a Ponzi scheme, and honestly, structurally, there's a fair amount of similarity. But one thing sets it apart: the hidden mechanism nobody talks about. This is where things start to get uncomfortable. The US has a superpower no other country has. It can print its own currency, and the world still accepts it. Imagine you had a machine that could print money, and people still trusted that money. How would you ever default? You could literally print your own way out of debt. This is the real reason that never makes the headlines. America can never technically go bankrupt, because its debt is denominated in US dollars, and dollars are something it controls the printing of. But there's a catch. Printing isn't free. When more dollars are printed, every existing dollar loses a bit of its value. This is called inflation. So America doesn't technically default. It slowly dilutes the value of its currency instead. This is an invisible tax that falls on anyone holding dollars, whether they live in America or not. There's another uncomfortable layer here. The Federal Reserve, America's central bank, sometimes buys its own government's bonds, meaning the government borrows money, and the very institution that prints that money ends up buying a large chunk of that debt. In other words, the government is borrowing from itself through a middleman institution. It sounds circular, because it is. Hype versus reality. By now you've probably heard, America is about to collapse. The dollar is about to crash. The next financial crisis is coming. These predictions aren't new. They've been made for the last 50 years. And every time, America survives anyway, because the world still hasn't found a better alternative. China's yuan, not fully convertible due to capital controls. The euro, multiple countries, multiple political risks. Gold, difficult to move at scale. So the world, whether it wants to or not, keeps treating US Treasury bonds as the safest asset on earth. It's this trust that keeps the system running. But reality looks a little different from the headlines. Debt is measured against GDP, because a large debt is manageable for a large economy, just like a big home loan is affordable for a high-income person. America's debt-to-GDP ratio today sits around 120%, the highest it's been since World War II. Here's the real warning sign: interest payments. In 2024, America spent as much money just paying the interest on its debt as it spends on its entire defense budget. Just to service old debt, an amount equal to an entire military force's budget. This number keeps growing every year, and if this trend continues, there will come a point where interest payments alone eat up such a large share of government revenue that new programs, infrastructure, and healthcare all start getting squeezed out. This isn't collapse. This is a slow squeeze. And a slow squeeze is more dangerous than a fast collapse. Because nobody stops it. Because it never feels like something is going wrong. The bigger picture. This isn't just America's story. Let's zoom out. When America manages its debt by printing money, the entire world feels the effects. Because global trade, oil, and commodities are all priced in dollars. When the dollar's value falls, imports become more expensive for emerging economies. When the Federal Reserve raises interest rates to control its own inflation, investors worldwide pull their money back into America because U.S. bonds offer better returns. This means capital flows out of other countries, weakening their currencies. This is the hidden cost no headline directly tells you. America's domestic financial decisions can shake the entire global economy. And here's the irony. The more the world treats U.S. debt as safe, the more America can borrow without consequence.